This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ken Quigley, and we're going to be doing a webinar on quite a few changes we've made to Link2quotes. We're going to be focusing on, as you can see from the screen, automatic quantity discount, but automatic quantity discount is really the culmination of several months worth of development, and that is kind of like the last missing piece to really add quite a bit of extended functionality. And then we're going to be talking about, Link2forms. We've got a really cool new feature, and much like Link2quotes, I'm going to talk to you about, what it's part of and where it's going. Okay, so first thing, a few housekeeping items. This is recorded, so everyone that's registered and all the resellers will be getting a copy of the recording tomorrow. Our marketing manager's away, so it's going to be fairly raw. It's not going to have the normal, marketing wrappers around it, but it will certainly cover the material well enough. I'm going to ask that everyone mute themselves. I see most everyone is muted, so that there's no interruptions. A lot of people keep themselves accidentally audible, and then they've got noise in the background that could be disruptive. Okay, so anyway, with that, let's jump in. What I'm going to do, by the way, at the end, I'm going to show you a new program we've been working on, and you're going to see how it all ties together into the subject matter. Okay, so first off, automatic quantity discount. Let's jump straight into Linktivity. So one of the things I want to show everyone is we've been adding so many new features that we've actually created a what's new page. So this will show you, you can see here, conditional questions. We'll be talking about changes to products, okay? And I'm gonna be more illustrating what those look like, in action. Changes to line items, quote formatting, and then if you go to read more, you can see all the different updates across the board, okay? So now I'm just going to close this and I'm going to go over to our quote page. Okay, so what I want to show you is just a scenario, and we're going to see how this actually, all the changes kind of work into that scenario. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring over my act here, and I'm going to show the lovely, the talented Shannon Hawthorne from our sales team. Okay, so the scenario is, imagine Shannon is a prospect, and she has called me up and she's really interested in an Act Premium Cloud. Doesn't know if she wants to be totally on the web or still have Windows Client, but one of the big things she knows is that she definitely wants Link2quotes for her team. So as you can see, she's got 4, but let's imagine that I don't know that. She just kind of reached out and, really unspecific, unqualified lead. So I'm just going to send her a quote based on the very, very general guidelines of her request. So the first thing I'm going to do, the reason I'm showing this, is that we have created a little plugin for Windows users that allows them to just click on this, and it will immediately bring them into a quote screen. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to make sure that muted. Okay, so now this is the part of the quote screen, and I'm going to say new APC quote for Shannon Hawthorne. I'm going to click on, I've got 2 choices, create from scratch, create from template, but we're going to go through this demo so that you can actually see how this works. Okay, so now you can see, because I used that little plugin, it's automatically loaded her name into the quote. So she is based in Florida. So I'm going to select the currencies. All of these things here are generally the same. The only difference is, what we found is that when people were putting in information in the preface, it actually looked like it was, almost indistinguishable from the, the ship to and bill to information at the top. So what we did is we created a little extra formatting, so you can just say preface, and you can say, okay, this quote assumes that the customer will add their own quantities. Okay, now if I click on save here and I click on preview, you can see that, this doesn't really stick out that much. So what we've done is select, and now we've got different headers here. Okay, so I'm just going to put in this. And now this sticks out quite a bit. Okay, so let's get into the interesting parts. So we go click on line items. Now, as I said, I've got a scenario. I don't know that much about what her needs are, other than that she's interested in Act Premium Cloud, doesn't know if she wants to be on the web or have Windows, but she does say that she wants her team to be able to quote. I don't know how many people she's got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare a quote that allows her to pick one or the other, okay, and pick the quantity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to show you how the quantity, okay, can actually affect the price. So the first thing is I want to select an item, and I'm going to select a product bundle, because there's actually several things that are part of a product bundle. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that instead of entering in all the information here, it's popped up over here in the screen. Now, there's several reasons that we've done this, and this isn't going to be super apparent until we get into the actual items. But one of the main reasons is that you have all the information here that's often not available here, where previously, if you wanted to access this kind of information, you had to drill into it. Now, even as you're editing it, you've got access to all the different configurable options. So what I'm going to do is, and the second reason is it's much more mobile friendly, and we're going to get into that in a bit. So I'm going to call this Act Premium Cloud Web Only, okay? And I'm going to make the quantity editable, okay? And I'm going to now click on here, and I'm going to add the items within this bundle. Okay, so click here, and we're going to click on Cloud, Web Only. We're going to click on again. I want to make sure that she gets support with this. I'm going to say Web Only. Okay, now I want her to be able to choose the quantity, and because it's a bundle, if she changes it here, okay, up or down, both of these are going to go up or down, but I am suggesting support. I'm not ordering her to have support. So I'm going to leave this as an option. Okay, so you're going to see down here where it's options. See how much handier it is to have this full screen available when you're making the quote, as opposed to just editing the product. So when you've got this here, you've got all the different configurable options here. Now you see the different quantity discounts. These are unconfigured, okay? So now I've got this, and let's just quickly see what this looks like in the preview. Okay, and you can see here there's no quantity for either one. Okay, the only quantity is the bundle that I labeled up here. But remember, I don't know how many Shannon wants, so I'm going to give her the ability to change it. Okay, now this is 360. This is 60, so it's 420. And as I change the quantity, it reflects both going up and down. But let's say that she decides that she doesn't want support, okay? You can see the immediate change to the totals, okay? But now let's get back to the quote. Now I want to give her the second option, and I'm going to say product bundling, and I'm going to say Act Premium Cloud Desktop Sync. Okay, and I want to make this editable quantity. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in here the option group, and you're going to see why I'm doing this in a second. Okay, so now we're going to click on OK, and let me just, okay, so we're going to go in and we are going to add the different products, and I'm going to say Cloud Desktop Sync and Orange Care. Okay. Okay, so now you see 480 and 120. Okay, now I'm just gonna click on save. Okay, so now I'm just doing a quick look here. This is listed as optional. I don't want it as optional. Okay, so now I've got this, and now I want to make sure, go up here, that the option group also says APC, because if I've got both bundles with the same option group, they actually become an either or selection. They're mutually exclusive. Okay, so now I've got two bundles that I'm going to propose to Shannon. Okay, and when she picks one, it will deselect the other on the quote, just as you can see here. Here's 420, here is 0. Let's see what that looks like in the quote. Okay, you can see here, adjustable quantity here. Okay, you can see that this isn't selected, so I'm just going to select that. Okay, and now you can see the amount change automatically. And if she says, well, you know what, I am going to go with that desktop sync, this will get deselected, and now she can adjust the quantity. Okay, so let's go back here. I'm just going to save, and I'm going to show you why we did what we did with here, because you can see all of these changes. Now let's talk about, make this mobile responsive. See, when you shrink this, you're able to make very, very easy product choices. And when it's in mobile mode, this little done button automatically appears. Okay, let me just show you here. See, now it disappears. Okay, the reason is that when you're in full view, you can actually see the screen behind this. When you're in mobile view, you can't. So we added this done button to automatically appear. So now we're gonna go back here. So as soon as you click on done, you're back to the quote. Now, let's cover the last piece she wants to get quoting in. So I'm gonna just click on product. Now over here, I'm just gonna type in quote, Link2quotes Team Edition. Okay, now let's take a look here what we've got. I've already entered in the regular price for quantity of 1 is $240. So that's what it says here. But what I did was I said, when you get to 6, drop it 5%, okay, to 228. When you get to 11, so that means from 6 to 10, it will be 228. From 11 to 20, it's going to drop 10%. And then once you get to 21, but let's add another tier, because this really allows you to make as many tiers as you want. So I'm going to click on plus, and I'm going to say, let's just say 50. Now, when I'm here, I've got two ways of calculating what my discount will be. The first thing, what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's not just picking up the price here. So I'm going to go back up to 240. Okay, now you'll see here with the percentage automatically calculates back down to 0. So I see my percentage here is 15%. Let's say I want to give them 25%, and it's automatically going to calculate the price here. Conversely, if I put 0, you can see it's 180, and I put in 180, it will calculate the percentage. So it really works for you in one direction of another. If you've got a fixed price in mind or a fixed discount in mind, it works both ways. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this editable, because I still don't know how many she wants. I got the option group, but I'm not going to do a compare and like have her do anything other than select whether or not she wants this. But I am going to make this optional, and I'm going to indicate here that this item is selected. So you can actually see here. Okay. So now you can see here that I've got the product in the quote. It's 1 across the board. And now I've made the quantity editable. I have made the quantity editable. I've added in tier pricing. So let's take a look here once it saves. My internet has actually been pretty good so far in this demo, but I know it's going to betray me eventually. Okay, just wait. And once it's saved, then I'm going to show you guys what the Shannon as the customer is going to see and what she can start doing. Okay, so now I'm just going to flip over here because I've already got it in preview. Okay, like I said, my internet's not that great. Okay, I won't bore you guys with our many tales of trying to get faster internet in here. Okay, so now here's her quote up and down. So let's kind of go through what she can do. So the first thing is I'm going to go with web only. That's going to be Shannon's choice. And Shannon has, let's say, 20 users. So you can immediately see here, 20 users, 8,400, and that is with Orange Care support, okay? That's selected, so this whole section doesn't get factored into the total. Now there's no quantity discount on this, okay? You don't see any kind of strike through on this, but what she's made clear is that she wants at least 11 of her team to have Link2quotes. So watch what happens, okay? Let me just go. Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure here. Oh, I think I blew this up here. Okay, let's go here. I'll do 5% at, I'm gonna do 5, and I'm gonna do 10, 240. Okay, and I'll do one more at 20, 240, and I'll do 15%. Not sure what happened there. Okay. Okay, just make sure that that preserves. Let me just check. There is a chat section that I invite everyone to ask their questions in. Okay, so you can see here. Now, if I go here and I say, okay, go back here. Okay, 5. Refresh, of course. Now, just to remind everyone that Link2quotes works with the Windows and the web. So if you're a customer like Shannon, she's considering getting this for web only, then this will work fine. Okay, so now I've entered in 11. Okay, and you see what happens? The price is automatically reduced. So the customer can actually go back and forth adjusting their quantities accordingly, okay, and build their own quote basically. They can select either or options. They can deselect items like here. Let's say they don't want support, okay, and then they can also remove this, add it back, and then change the quantities. Couple of points to note with this. Firstly, if you've done a lot of quoting, one of the biggest time wasters is the back and forth between you and the customer as they request quote changes, whether it's adding items, whether it's changing quantities. You can actually add in, pretty much all your biggie fries options and put in quotes of one and allow them to select and deselect items. The other point, and then change the quantities. The other point, and this is more of a practical issue, is that what we find is that a lot of customers will come in and they will brag about having a really big champagne budget and they want your best price. And then suddenly when it comes time to buy, their wallet is a little bit more beer-like than champagne. So What happens in those cases is that you give them your best price, and suddenly when their quantity goes from 20 down to 3, you become the face of that unit price going back up again, and they get mad at you. It's like, well, come on, don't you want my business? I'm going to grow my business, blah blah blah. By putting the pricing discounts, the quantity discounts into the quoting and allowing them to adjust the price, it becomes far more systemic, okay, where they can see that it's not the salesperson that is changing the price in front of them, they are. So in this case, if this customer turns around and said, you know what, maybe I only need 3, the price changes right in front of them, and the sales rep doesn't become the bearer of bad news. Okay, so that seems like it's a dynamic issue, but it's a dynamic issue that most sales reps have to contend with on a regular basis. So now I can go here, I can say, let's just say 10. I'm going to go down here and say 10. Okay, and now that the discount's applied, one of the things that we have as part of our program is that all the Linktivity programs integrate together, okay, to provide some synergistic improvement on each. So here you can see where you've got, have any questions about your quote, click here to book a time to meet with me. So this will invoke my link to calendar and they can book a meeting with me. We'd love your feedback. Please take a moment to complete our customer satisfaction survey, immediately soliciting their feedback as to how the quoting experience has been for them. Okay, so this is, again, cross-pollination, allowing the different programs to work together. Now, scrolling down, they enter in the information. Terms and conditions are here. You can make them as verbose as you like, because you don't have to click them, say click here to look at our privacy button and have to take you out of the quote. This is all built in. Okay, so then they accept it, and when they accept it, it immediately brings them to a confirmation page, and they've got a quote. You get notified immediately. Your opportunity gets closed. All of that happens at once. Okay, so this is really the power, and you can see up here, you can download all the information as well. So you've got all that information in front of you that you can, or all the customers got all that information in front of them, so they can pretty much do everything themselves, and including paying for the quote immediately afterwards, because customers are never more anxious to pay than when they've just accepted. Okay, that's their the high emotional point. Okay. I don't see any questions, so let's jump in to, we've got that. Now, what do some of these link to quotes changes in the quantities look like outside of the quote? So now I'm going to click on Save and Close. I'm going to click on Products, and this is where you get all the products, and you can select any one. I'm going to say a media pack, and you can just make as many quantity adjustments as possible. Okay, so you can say, let's say at 10, they get a 10% discount. At 20, they get a 20% discount. And when you save this, it's automatically saved to the product database. Now let's go back to Shannon's quote. Now, if I go here and I click on this, and I make all of these changes here, okay? And let's say that I think it's 6, and then it's 11, okay? And I think it goes 21 after this. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a save. Now, what I can do at this point, right in the middle of a quote, I can click on here and click on Save to Product Database. And now that particular product, as I've edited it inside of the quote, has now saved to my product database. Now let me state a couple of things that should be obvious. There's 2 tiers of link to quotes. One is link to quotes standard, and one is link to quotes team edition. The team edition allows you to have the product database. So all of the things that we've talked about today really only work with the team edition. The standard edition works with the ACT product database, and it just pulls all the information from that. So a lot of these, most of these features would not be available. Okay, so let me just make sure that I've covered. Now, okay, so now we've talked about the products. Let's actually see what this looks like in a real production environment. So some of the changes that we made is we wanted the reporting to actually reflect not just the sales, okay, so you can see that our sales so far this month, but we wanted to see what the profit was, okay? Now, every single one of the products that you've got, okay, you've got the ability to put in cost. Well, in this case, we put in 0 because this is one of our own products. But if it's a resale item, then we can put in what the cost is, and obviously that subtracted into that will provide us the net gross profit. So going back here, we can see here now, this provides us all the illustration here, so we can say, okay, who's the top selling person? Who is the person that's actually making the company the most money? Okay, and when I see something like this, where Sylvia is bringing in 11,000, but I see that 7,200 of that is profit, that's pretty darn good. Okay, and as a business owner, I could immediately say, in terms of salary and commissions and everything, how is she producing for the company this month? And that's very strong. Okay, same thing with here. Vic, I can see, is clearly around 66%. Okay, not too bad at all. Okay, in terms of profit margin. So that was something that we added. And then when you click on profit margin up here, it breaks down all the products that are being quoted and breaking them down on a cost and price basis. Okay. Now, one of the other things, getting back to products that we made changes on, and this was a bit of a duh one, but worth noting, is we added brand. So if you click on here, we added brand because people were saying that they were actually selling a lot of other people's products. So they wanted to, put in a brand type, and then you can just select it from here. We already had categories. So in this case, I can just say this is an add-on, okay? And the description, and now you can see this. So if I was going to say, let's say growth for Growth Suite, okay? I want to change all of the brands here at once. Let's say I've done some importing, or let's say I've been using Link2quotes for a little while, and now I want to take advantage of this feature. What I can do is I can select all this, click on Batch Edit, click on Brand, and say Save and Close. Okay, now all of these have the ACT brand. Okay, so even if you are an existing user, and I see a few people on this webinar that are existing users, you can update your product database really, really easily with brands, okay? And also the import function here, when you import from a file, also support brands. So if your spreadsheet, let's say you get a spreadsheet from one of your suppliers, you can use that, that to import in and separate all of the products from different suppliers, okay? And then if you're looking at your, let's say here, looking at all your products, and you click filters, now you've got the ability to say, well, show me only my ACT products, okay? Or show me only handheld contact, or show me, oh, here's a perfect example. So now I can see here, you can see that there's only one, so I'm just gonna put in handheld. Okay, I'm going to select them all. I'm going to do a batch edit, brand. Now they're all updated. So now let's clear the filter. Say filter, show me handheld contact. And now I've got all of these. So it's really a fantastic tool for massaging your products. Now, why do you want all these different filters? Because if you've got lots of products like us, it's really easy to build your quote, manage your product lists if you've got all these other different configurable characteristics, okay? Now, one of the last things in Link2quotes that I wanted to show today is actually, let me just go back over here, go to settings. We're gonna go to layouts, okay? Now, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna click on this, I'm gonna edit this. Now, when you create one template, okay, you can easily copy it as a boilerplate for others, okay? So I was playing around with this, put in my, my faux signature here, and I've got all the different things that I want as part of my regular boilerplate. Now, what I can do is now I can upload a custom template that an actual web developer or designer can customize further. I'm not going to get into that right now because it doesn't make for very good television, but I do want to show you some options that we have now, okay? So if you scroll down, one of the things that we had a request on, you click on preview, we had people say, I don't need all of these different fields here. It's the nature of my business. I don't need date issued. I don't need valid to or tax code or currency or anything like that. So what we did is we set it up so that people can suppress different components of a quote, prepared by, show, hide, whichever. Okay, it's always picking the defaults, but you can change the defaults. So if I wanted to hide the currency and hide the tax number, okay, and let's say I wanted to show in the address block here, I wanted to show the email and the phone number, okay, then I can do that. It's nice to have that in front of you because often, you're looking at a quote when you're about to contact people, and having all that contact information is nice. But I'm going to say I don't want it in this case, okay, and I don't want the email. And now I'm going to click on save. And now the preview removes that information. So it really allows you to kind of customize based on what your industry need is, based on this, because this is, we get a lot of feedback in terms of the different ways that industries quote, and we want to provide people as much flexibility as possible. Okay, so we've covered that. We've covered all the different layout changes, gross profit, brands. The one other main thing that I wanted to show you with the Linktivity is the big change to Link2forms. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up the Link2quotes. If there's no questions, I'll quickly pivot over to Link2forms, and then I'll show you the surprise at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Link2forms, and I'm going to click on my sample survey. Okay, so this sample survey, I'm not going to do a deep dive on Link2forms and show you how to build a form. Yeah, actually, why not? Do something really quick, because people actually often don't believe how fast you can create a form. So, okay, so sample for webinar. Okay, I've got the option of creating and linking a group. And what that means is it's going to create a group in ACT, and every person that fills this out is going to be added to my database automatically and added to that group. So it's a great way of doing follow-ups. Okay, so now I'm just going to put sample for webinar. Yep, I'm going to click on save. Now I've got all this, I can put in photos, and I could put in introductory text and footer text and closing text. So, the closing text will obviously be when, kind of like your answer page. And then here's all the other configurable options. You can now actually change a form owner. So let's say I'm creating a support page. I can actually assign all the responses to go to Michael. okay, who is our support manager, or I can just keep them default. We do have different workflows afterwards here, like creating follow-up activities, things like that, as well as drip campaigns. But I'm not really going to get into that because I really want to focus on how quick you can create a form and the one major new feature that we've got. So the contact fields, I'm going to just quickly remove most of them because, you know, unless you're looking at a job application form, things like that, people don't like giving too much information, okay? So I'm going to just say 4 fields at most, okay? And while I'm doing this, I'm always doing a preview, and I'm saying, okay, that's pretty straightforward, and it's all, you know, each one of these fields is 50%, so I'm using the space really efficiently, okay? And now I'm going to go over to questions. Now this is where we've got the new, you know, the new features. So first thing is I'm going to just remove these, and I'm going to edit this one question. You see immediately that the side view is just like in quotes. So they're bringing this on over, and it allows you to edit this much more thoroughly on the fly, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to say, would you like a quote on APC? Okay, and I'm gonna say yes and no. And I'm gonna say input required, okay? Now, let's do a quick save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add question, and this is where I'm going to show you the new conditional, okay? And they're going to say, I've got this question, and I'm going to say, let's say drop down, and I'm going to say, great, which would you like? Which APC would you like? Okay, and I'm going to say, act on the cloud, act with desktop sync. So what is special about this? Well, I now have the option, okay, to say question dependency. So I'm going to say, would you like a quote on APC? And I'm going to say, only show this question if they say yes. So I'm going to edit this one more time, and I'm going to say hide if the condition, is not met. So let's take a look at what that looks like. And I see here we've got columns. This is 2 columns wide. I'm going to make this column 2 columns wide as well. Okay. And now let's take a look at the preview. Okay. I only see one question. So let's go here and we'll say Ken at kqc.ca, kqc 164939090. And I click into it. Of course I would like it. And suddenly I get a question that wasn't appearing before. Great, which APC would you like? Act on the cloud. Fantastic. Boom, submit. And the moment that I click on submit, you see the little processing button here. I'm going to be added to the database. I'm going to be added to the group for all the prospects, and the history, okay, is going to be written to that contact saying what the answers were. Okay. Now, what I can also do, if this is really a quote where I'm trying to generate business, I can also say create an opportunity as well. Okay, so that not only is a follow-up scheduled, okay, because I can go down here and I can say create a follow-up, make it a call, so it's the same day. So I get immediately something pop up in my in my task list, but I can also say create an opportunity, and I can use whatever naming convention I want here, and I can say submission date and contact company. So we'll have the same, sorry about the little pop-ups there. Okay, and then I can set the information here, quote. And now every single time someone fills this out, it will create a follow-up, it will create the contact, it will create the follow-up, okay? It will create the opportunity, everything. And because I've used a conditional question, it will only show this last question if they answered correctly for us, for our interests, okay? Now I see I've got a question. Yes, so you also, Dia was asking if I get an email. Every single time there's a submission, you will get an email notifying you of that, okay? So you get the email, you get the activity scheduled and act, you get the opportunity. If you miss all of those, we probably can't help you, okay? But that's the power. Now, we want to see what that looks like. There it is, okay? Very, very simple form. You've got all kinds of, like I didn't want to make this, you know, too about Link2forms, but you can play around with the customization of it. You can even make it look like it's a printable document. Oh, I didn't save it fast enough. Okay, and you can customize the style to the nth degree. Okay, right now the appearance, you select on default. Compact is useful because instead of having field labels, it actually, to save space, puts field hints, okay? And it doesn't use big question headers and things like that. So it's far more compact. And then when you go to use this form, you can insert it into an iframe with this embedded code that we provide you. Just click on copy, okay? You can use the link if you want, or you can use our built-in link to shrink feature to generate a really short custom URL. So I'm going to say, let's say FM, I've got different domain options here, and I'm going to say sample survey, okay? Create it, great. So now if I copy it, click on over here, I've got a human-friendly URL. You see that it resolves to what the actual form link is, but I've got a human-friendly URL that's easy for me to remember that I can distribute, okay? But the big thing I wanted to show you guys is, and you can see how quickly you can create a form, right? The biggest thing I wanted to show you was that new conditional question, which really enables you to make forms much more sophisticated and interactive. So where are we going with this? The main area that we're going with this is to further enhance the survey capability of this, is that we are going to build, right now you can see here that this is one form. We're going to build the ability to break it into segments. So it walks you through much more like surveys that you're used to. So you click on once, and then you answer a question and you go to another page, and using dependent questions becomes far more intuitive then, okay? So we're gonna build that, expect that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, okay? And then that way, you know, you'll have much more powerful surveys, okay? So that covers the Linktivity changes that we made, but as you've seen, I've kind of talked around the Act Premium Cloud subject a fair bit. We're a big proponent of Act Premium Cloud. I'll just quickly show you my.act.com, my login, launch the database. Now, one of the feedbacks that we got is that, you know, people love the you know, the ease of access and the flexibility of being able to work on the cloud. What they haven't liked is the import functions. So the import functions have been something that have been a bit of a pain point for web-only people. People with desktop sync, doesn't matter. They can use all kinds of SDK import tools that have been around for quite some time and are very, very sophisticated. But for people that get regular updates, lead lists, things like that, they've really not been crazy about the import capabilities of this. So we built a tool that allows you to import in, let me just go right back to the beginning. Okay, allows you to import in directly through the API. Normally, all imports with all the software that I've seen has allowed you to import only through the SDK. What does that mean? Basically, the two programs, the import tool, the data, and the ACT software and the database all together on one computer and importing one into the other. However, with the increasing popularity of ACT Cloud, where people have no software, they wanted a really robust tool to import with. So what we did is we developed an importer for the web API. So you've got your choice when you first select this, launch it. What's going to be my connection type? Is it going to be SDK or API? But what I'm going to just show you is that if you do, let's say you get regular lead lists and you're getting them all the time and you don't want to have to put all of this in, then what you can do is you can kind of put in your open configuration, and I'm going to say, let's do the CSV one. Okay, so this pulls in, shows me my API, shows me the database, shows me my login name, my password, what table I'm going to import into. Even if this importing tool within Act Premium Cloud worked perfectly, it only imports into contacts. With Merge Admin, you can import in contacts, companies, groups, opportunities, products. So you've got all kinds of flexibility, okay? And now you've got this in terms of the data. I'm gonna say, no, I don't really want that file. I'm gonna go up here, click on downloads. I'm gonna select the computer company for import. Okay, next, just gonna go with all the default options. Okay, here showing me the data. Okay, and now, okay, it's fine. Now I've got, here's all my import fields mapped. We're actually going to make some additions so this automatically maps to recognized fields. So if you've got a field address 1 and there's a column address 1 in the spreadsheet, it will automatically map it. And then we'll also have selectable or deselectable fields that maybe you don't want to import, okay? So now at the option here, okay, and I'm going to click on Begin Merge. Save changes to my configuration file. Yes, thank you. And I'll just update this. Sure, I want to go ahead. And now you can see the importing, okay? It's going to be bringing in about, I think, 170. I just did a random export of all companies in our database that had the word computer in the company, okay? But you can see this is pretty efficient, bringing it in, okay? About 2 every second. Now we have to throttle it. The API can actually handle a lot more data, but one of the commitments we made to ACT is that we wouldn't, give it full access to it to avoid, blowing up the API for other users. Because if we just import in at full speed, then we can create like a memory spike that will affect, all ACT Premium Cloud users. So that is done now, okay? And click on close. And if I was to look up, let's say, okay, I've got, and let's say that I click on here, look up company, and I'm going to say contains the word computer. I've got all of these. Oh, come on. So here's all the new contacts that were brought in, okay? So if you're an Act for Web user and you previously were struggling with importing with not having the software handy, Now we've solved that problem, okay? We're going to continue to work on it, add more features, but that will be available next week, okay? And we think customers that are migrating to Act Premium Cloud, we showed you the cost, we showed you the flexibility of it, showing you now the speed of it, are really going to really going to appreciate that extra utility, okay? Can we add fields when importing? And the answer is yes. Okay, so you will be able to create fields that don't exist, okay? Now, be mindful, guys, this applies equally to regular Act users as it does the Act Cloud. There is no way of creating new fields in the database without locking the database. So if you're going to be doing importing, be mindful not to do this during production time unless you want to avoid being extremely unpopular, okay, and booting everyone out of the production database during work hours. Okay. That is it. I don't see any questions. We're about 9 minutes under time, which is fantastic. I hope you guys found this useful. We've been working really, really hard to improve the Act Premium Cloud experience across the board, really providing powerful Linktivity tools to enhance the experience, whether you're using Windows or web, providing web form capabilities, dynamic lead generation. And the quotes part, I call the lead conversion, okay? So it's great to have all these tools for lead generation, but you need a tool for lead conversion. And I think we've got quite literally the best quoting solution now for Act users anywhere. And I can say that very confidently because of the amount of work and features we've built into the product. And the biggest part, easiest to use. Okay, we've had people starting up on this program and they've literally been creating quotes within the first hour, okay, which is quite a bit different than experiences with other quoting programs. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I will thank everyone for their time and let them get back to their day. Very much appreciate it. If you find any of this useful, please email sales@kqc.ca and one of our team members will be happy to get back to you with more information or provide you a quote on some of the stuff that we talked about today. So thank you very much. Have a great day.